In this lesson, we're continuing our discussion of tangible evidence. Specifically, we want to focus on the best evidence rule under Rules 1001 through 1008 of the Federal Rules of Evidence. But before we jump into it, there's one key point we need to establish, and that is that there is no evidentiary rule that requires a party to put forth the best evidence they possess to prove any given fact. That is not what the best evidence rule is about, even though that's what it sounds like it's doing, right? That's not the best evidence rule. Imagine, for example, right, because you classically see this on evidence multiple choice questions. Imagine that we have a fact pattern of a bank robbery, and let's say on one end we have a 90-year-old witness who witnessed with eyewitness, right, witnessed this bank robbery occur. But let's say that due to her age, right, she has significant hearing loss, significant vision loss, she's doing the best that she can, but she does have these major sensory defects. And let's say, on the other hand, we have 10 Ultra HD video cameras that caught the entire robbery from beginning to end from almost every angle you could imagine, right? So the question is the prosecution required under the best evidence rule to produce the video footage because it's the best evidence to prove their facts, right? And the answer is no, right? That's not what the best evidence rule is about. It's a very misleading title, and that's classically a wrong answer choice, right? Anytime you see that this person has to put forth this evidence because it's the best evidence they have pursuant to the best evidence rule, right, that's usually going to be a wrong answer, right? Anytime we're thinking about the best evidence rule, we really want to go to 1001 and apply it directly to the facts, right? We don't want to just get tricked up by the name best evidence rule, okay? And so why, though, is it called the best evidence rule? Well, this is a common law principle, right? And back in the old days, right? Back in the old times, imagine before we had the technology that we have today, what ended up happening when somebody needed to make a copy of something. Say we have a breach of contract action in the early 1900s or 1800s, right? Well, if we want to bring a copy of that contract to court, how are you going to do it without a photocopier? Well, a lot of times what would happen is we would have a scribe or somebody sit there and hand copy the contract. Imagine we have a 20-page contract and someone's going to sit there by hand and line by line copy it. What's likely to happen, right? Inevitably, there's going to be mistakes in this copying process, right? And that even a very small minor mistake in a contract action could be huge, right? One term gets changed slightly could change the entire outcome of the action. So, in the common law days, this was called the best evidence rule, meaning we prefer the original over these handwritten copies, right? But now, today, it's less of a problem because we have photocopiers, right? We have Xerox machines that can make 100% reliable duplicates most of the time, right? So, this is where we end up with the best evidence rule, and it's less applicable today than it was for that reason, right? We don't have as many problems copying documents as we may have when people were having to do it by hand, but nonetheless, 1001 and the best evidence rule still has some applicability today, and you might see it on an evidence fact pattern, so we'll talk about exactly how it plays out. But it's important to recognize off the top that it has a misleading name, right? All of this is to say the title of best evidence rule can be misleading. I would recommend in your head you think of this rule as the original document rule, because in some cases, right, when a party is introducing a writing, a recording, or a photograph to prove the contents of the writing, recording, or photograph, then Rule 1001 requires the party to produce the original or an accurate duplicate as defined by Rule 1001 of the Federal Rules of Evidence, right? So, important to recognize that when I use the term duplicate throughout this lesson, right, I don't mean this like a layman might mean the word duplicate. I mean duplicate as defined by Rule 1001 of the Federal Rules of Evidence, which requires some sort of electronic, mechanical, chemical, or otherwise machine, right, process to accurately produce reliable copies, right? That's what 1001 is requiring. Right? We're not talking about handwritten copies. Handwritten copies is not a duplicate pursuant to 1001. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a machine of some kind that can accurately make copies, like a photocopier or a Xerox machine, right? But again, anytime that a party is introducing a writing, a recording, or a photograph for the purpose of proving the contents of the writing, recording, or photograph, then the original document rule or the best evidence rule is triggered, and we need that party to produce the original or a duplicate pursuant to 1001, right? So the question then becomes for us, well, what do we mean by offering a writing, recording, or photograph to prove its contents? When are we doing that? Well, I've identified for us the three main situations where this is happening, what we want to look out for on an evidence fact pattern. If any of these situations come up, right, that's a trigger, that's an issue spotting trigger for the best evidence rule. That's where we need to really think about analyzing 1001, because in all of these cases, the party is introducing the writing, recording, or photograph to prove its contents, right? So our first situation we want to look out for is where the event to be proved is a written transaction. This would be any document that is legally operative, right? If you execute the document and upon execution, it has some sort of legal effect, like a contract, a will, a trust, a deed, right? In all of these cases, that triggers 1001. You have to put forth the original, right, or a duplicate as defined by 1001 of the Federal Rules of Evidence, right? So this is pretty easy to see, right? Any type of contract, will, trust, deed, anything that has legal effect when you execute it. Any document that in of itself, when you execute it, it has some sort of legal effect, right? Then we need the original or duplicate, right? That just straight triggers 1001. Now, what we want to look out for here is writings that exist independently from the event. So classically, imagine that you have a confession that's reduced to a writing, right? This happens all the time. So police are interrogating a suspect. We have some detectives interrogating a suspect. He orally confesses to the detectives, and then they reduce that confession to a writing. Well, what do we have here? We have two separate things, right? That writing doesn't have legal effect in and of itself, the making of it. They just happen to reduce this event, the confession, to a writing, right? They're two separate things. We have an oral confession and we have a writing, right? And so here, the best evidence rule does not apply when the event sought to be proved existed independently from the writing. So if we have a confession that just so happened to be recorded, either videotape or reduced to a writing, right, that doesn't necessarily in and of itself trigger the best evidence rule. For example, if that detective who's questioning the suspect comes to court and testifies to the confession, just because that detective has come to court and is testifying to the confession, right, he has personal knowledge of it. He's allowed to come to court and do that. It's not a hearsay violation under 801D2, statement against a party opponent, right? He's allowed to do that, and that doesn't trigger the best evidence rule, right? Even though that confession was reduced to a writing, that exists independently from the event sought to be proved here, right? This oral confession is a separate entity from the writing. Now, a contract, right? Compare that to a breach of contract, a will, a trust that has legal effect when you execute it, right? That doesn't exist independently. So we do need the original document for contracts, wills, deeds, written transactions. But if we just have some record of something that was made, that happened to be made at the same time some event happens, right? That does not trigger the best evidence rule, okay? However, right, under our second requirement that we want to look out for, and this is probably what many of you are thinking about right now, what if a party chooses to introduce a writing, recording, or photograph to prove a fact? Thank you so much for watching this video preview of our Legal Education Accelerator Program, or LEAP, for short. If you would like to see the conclusion of this video and gain full access to our entire 1L and 2L video library, integrated outlines, streamable audio versions, additional practice exams with explanations, and much more, we invite you to head over to our website and join the thousands of law students who have already enrolled. To get started with your no-risk free trial today, simply click the link in the description box below or visit www.studicata.com/leap.
Hi everyone, my name is Serena and I'm currently a law student at South Texas College of Law, Houston.
Hi everybody, my name is Shiva and I'm currently a law student at Southwestern.
Hi everyone, my name is Michelle and I am a first year student at South Texas College of Law, Houston. I used the Studicata study video series last semester to help me prepare mostly for contracts, and I actually made an A+ in contracts last semester, which I greatly dedicate to the Studicata videos.
By using Studicata to help me prepare for my final exam, I was able to score the highest grade out of my class on the final and even have my essay distributed as the model answer. Not to mention I had done quite poorly on the midterm and was struggling throughout the whole course of the semester, understanding the material and keeping up with lectures.
Because of the Studicata video lectures, I was able to go into my exams with a feeling of confidence. I didn't have to worry about what the rules of law were or how I was going to organize my answer to an essay question.
I would absolutely recommend the Studicata series and their online course materials to anyone. I think that they are not like professor lectures that you might find online or other outside study materials that you may encounter. I think that the Studicata videos really focus on not only ensuring that you understand the material that you're going to encounter on your final, but they also help you to understand kind of the best method for test taking, and they really break down how to approach each problem and the best ways to tackle certain methods on testing, and I think that's really important, and I think it's really special. I don't see that anywhere else in any of the other online resources that I've found. So I would certainly recommend Studicata to anyone who is studying in law school right now. Good luck on your studying and you're going to do great.
I would definitely recommend Studicata to anybody watching this video. Give it a chance. I'm positive that you will love it, that you will get a lot out of it, and that you will be happy that you gave it a chance. I definitely am. I know I will be using Studicata in the future.
And I cannot thank Studicata enough for getting me through my first semester of law school. I will definitely continue to watch the Studicata video lectures throughout my law school career, and I highly recommend that any future or current law student do the same.